Hey, this is Mark Swartz from MTC Media looking back at UVA Pitt. Virginia falls 68-65 to the Panthers after the loss. Virginia drops to 10-3, 2-2 in the ACC. Pitt stays tied at the top with Miami. The Panthers are 4-0 in the conference, 11-4 overall. This was definitely a game of tale of two halves. If you looked at the numbers in the first half, the Cavaliers' offense seems to be working, was shooting 48% of the floor. But I think what we saw was in the last 4 minutes, Pitt stayed in it, even though it was hard to see that Pitt stayed in it. I know that sounds strange, but Pitt was forcing UVA into some tough shots, and they cut a 13-point lead down to 7. Yes, Isaac McNeely makes the 3 at the end of the half that pushed it back at 4, but you almost saw the formula for how Pitt was going to play the second half with that tough defense. And how they were able to stay in the game and only be down by 10, even though it felt like Virginia was up by like 15, 16, and they wasn't. So give Pitt credit on that, because even at the beginning of the second half, Virginia came out and hit their first 4 shots, and Pitt just didn't let them get away. Now, part of this is probably that good feeling from North Carolina, when North Carolina had the lead at Pitt in the second half on a couple of occasions, and the Panthers fought back. Once they got their offense rolling, you saw what Pitt could do. And how did they get their offense rolling? Dribble penetration. We always talk about the Virginia defense. Give Pitt and their offense credit. They were able to start to get 2 feet in the paint, whether they were in their screen roll action or just attacking downhill. Now, several times during the game, they kept talking about, oh, Pitt's playing faster, Pitt's playing faster. It wasn't necessarily that Pitt was playing faster as the game was going on. What you were seeing is that Pitt was getting in their sets quicker, which means they were able to run their actions earlier in, while Virginia was still trying to get hunkered down in their defense. So they were attacking a rotating defense. They were attacking a defense that wasn't quite set. And then Pitt intelligently took those opportunities and they just attacked downhill. And once they got some of the penetration and kicks, and off of the kicks, they got makes, then you saw the penetration and the finishes. And that's how Pitt got back in the game. They had the big 14-0 run. They gave them the 46-44 lead. And even then, when Virginia came back and took the lead briefly, I mean, Clark hits this wild shot that he banks in, and that was indicative of how hard Pitt was making it for Virginia to score the ball. So this is one of these situations where Pitt in the second half made 1 or 2 adjustments. And now that North Carolina loss doesn't look bad, because I remember the reaction when North Carolina lost. Oh my gosh, how can you lose to Pitt? But this is what Pitt has been doing, and it has started on the defensive end. It's also with their decision making when they do run screen action, and how to keep the floor space in that small area where you have the roller and the ball handler. And then again, the decision making that Pitt has made when they have been able to get penetration. Now, if there's one regret UVA probably has, is that they didn't keep Caden Shedrick involved. At the very beginning, Shedrick looked like he was going to be a big factor. In that middle, it kind of faded away from him. And then in the end, it's like they started looking back at him. I think that if they looked at him consistently and Virginia was able to get the ball inside just periodically and keep them in the flow of things, that game might have been very different. But alas, it was not. Virginia loses to Pitt 68-65. This is Mark Swartz from MTC Media.